debates. Now, the crimes of the convicted serial killer Lucy Letby have rattled the UK and across the world.
You can think of nothing worse, can you, that babies who were grievously ill, killed or injured by a woman who was meant to care for them.
But are people born evil or are people made evil? Is it nature or nurture?
Well, we're joined now by two psychologists, Honey Lancaster-James and Joe Hemmings. So if I start with you, Honey, are people born evil?
Well, this is one of those age-old debates. We've been talking about the nature-nurture debate now since the ancient Greeks. And the truth is, we're never going to have an absolutely definitive answer because you can't grow a human being in a vacuum. So it's very difficult to tease out what has been the impact of genetic, basic raw material and what has come from experiences in life. But over the last few years, there's been increasing evidence that even when there are so-called things like the psychopathic gene, various genetic studies, that actually in the vast majority of cases, when these things are investigated within the context of childhood experiences, development, there is actually a lot of evidence that suggests that even certain genes only turn on if they experience certain childhood influences, experiences and adversity. And there's been a huge growing body of evidence now that suggests that actually criminality is very strongly linked to early childhood experiences and adverse experiences in particular.
Honey, but, you know, Lucy was an only child of, a dad who has worked in retail, mum who was a bookkeeper. It seemed like a very ordinary life there, lived down a cul-de-sac in a semi-detached house, went to local school, had a Saturday job. So where were these sort of pressures on her?
I mean, I can't comment on Lucy Letby's upbringing or her experiences. I haven't evaluated her. I haven't assessed her. So I can't comment on that. But what I can say is that lots of studies have looked at the populations within prisons, other criminality, and found huge links between early life trauma, early life experiences. That is not to excuse criminality, and that is not in any way to suggest that someone should be given dispensation because of experiences. It's also extremely complex because from the outside looking in, we can't look at anyone else's life and say, well, there's no reason for them to behave the way they are because it all looks very conventional and very glossy and very traditional 2.4 children in the family or whatever else. We can't do that because the reality of how our psychological processes work is that all sorts of influences from school days, parenting climate, poverty, social circumstances around us, they all play their part in influencing how we grow and how we develop. And it would be, I think, very sort of, we'd call it reductionist, very simplistic if we just say, well, somebody's just born that way without taking into account the vast array of psychological experiences that we all have in our lives. Of course, the vast majority of us then work on those things, process them, deal with them, cope with them. We don't all become murderers, and turn to criminality. But ultimately, I think it would be very simplistic to try to say that some people are just bad eggs in a bad apple, or a bad apple in a barrel. I don't think that's how we work.
Honey Lancaster-James, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Unfortunately, we lost Joe's link, so we weren't able to hear from her, but we appreciate your time. Jackie, one of our viewers, says, I was married to an evil man and had 3 daughters with him. I brought all my children up in exactly the same way and kept them away from their father's excesses, and they loved him. Unfortunately, my youngest is a reincarnation of her father. One day they might find the evil gene, and we can put this debate to rest. And Christine says, I believe some people are born evil. They have some disorder in their brain, they don't understand empathy or have any awareness of pain. That's why they don't show remorse.